Hello all, Red here for Island Adventures, and today I want to share with you an amazing sit-down video I had recently. This amazing person is none other than our very own Mr. Emmett Hennessy, an accomplished actor, musician, and radio personality of almost 40 years on-air experience. Currently working at Heartbeat Radio 103.5 FM. He has a passion for music and religiously performs every Sunday at Sayers Restaurant in Chaguaramas between 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. So let's get to that video clip. Hello all and welcome to Island Adventures, and today we are at Mr. Hennessy's residence, who kindly allowed us to be here to allow us to film this episode. So Emmett, thank you again for this opportunity.
That's great. I like talking about music,
Right.
which I guess that's what they're going to be doing. I
Right.
guess,
So
yeah.
what I'm really interested in finding out about is 3 hours at Sales Restaurant.
Yeah, you're talking about my Sunday night gig at the restaurant.
Yeah, I mean 3 hours is a lot.
I know. I'm a workaholic. I always tend to try and overcompensate. I'm always so grateful that somebody give me a gig,
Right.
That the waitresses say to me, "Hey mate, you're crazy. The other people, they come here and they do 20 minutes and they go and take a break and then they come back half an hour later." But I just start at 7 and I just do song after song after song, and I don't stop until 10 o'clock. I'm very tired at the end, but then again, I've tried that break thing when I first started at Val Park Chinese restaurant, and I was wandering around like a lost soul. What the heck they gonna do, So rather than sit around twiddling my thumbs, I'd rather be singing songs. So I kind of ruled out the breaks early o'clock. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've witnessed what you have.
The magic.
Yes, I've been there and I've witnessed it, and it's amazing what you're doing, and
Just me and the guitar. Yeah.
yeah,
That's all, yeah.
and the entire concept of you having your setup that with your harmonizer,
Yeah.
that's amazing stuff, because it's the end product is very relaxing, very calming, and I was much appreciated of being there. What inspired you to do this kind of thing?
Well, you mean in the beginning? You mean?
Yeah, what started this kind of this passion for music?
Well, you have to remember. Well, it all started in an era. It was to do with the era in which I was 17, 18, 19, which was like 1964, 1965. Now, you're probably too young to remember, but they had, in England, in America too, they had what they call the folk boom, which was brought about by Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul and Mary, and John Baez and people like that, and they were all doing folk music, and it was big. They were all mega hits, So whenever there's a trend, as you know, then we all follow the trend. So as a 17-year-old schoolboy, 16-year-old schoolboy, wow. And there was also a phenomenon in England a bit earlier than that called skiffle music, which is how John Lennon started in what they call a skiffle group, which is like a box bass,
Right.
and the acoustic guitar, and they just do old American blues kind of thing.
Right.
And he had one called the Quarrymen, John Lennon,
Okay.
did, And Paul McCartney went to see them at a village fair, and they met and they formed the Beatles. But anyway, so in other words, it was do-it-yourself music. Where I could do that too. So you buy a little cheap box guitar, and you learn the 3 chords, G, C, D 7th, and you're on your way.
Right.
So I was into Bob Dylan and people like that. So, but that was America. We were in London, and then there was folk clubs everywhere. All was above a pub, the folk club, and I met a guy called Ray, who became a virtuoso harmonica player,
Right.
and we used to sit around with all the other beatniks, because that was also the era of the Bohemians and the beatniks, and we pretended to be that too, grew our hair and all that, pretended we lived rough even though we didn't. We had mums and dads and homes and what have you. So we'd sit on the beach with Rod Stewart pretending the same thing, you know, he was there too, pretending he was a beatnik. And even though his mum and dad had a shop. And you learn all the songs, and some of us got good, and some fell by the wayside.
Right.
I got pretty good pretty quickly.
Right.
As you may have seen from that video of me when I was about 18 in the pub with the documentary with Ray doing the harmonica. There's a...
I haven't seen that.
No, okay, well you've got to check that out. It's called Beatniks 1965 or
I will
something.
check it out.
So I was only playing about 18 months then, you know, and I was banging away pretty good, you know. So, in other words, we progressed where others didn't. And before too long, some entrepreneur trying to cash in on the Bob Dylan phenomenon, he got me a record contract with EMI.
Right.
So, okay, all right. So we went in the studio, and I recorded 2 songs, flat cold, just no double tracking. I had the harmonica rack like Bob Dylan, you know. It was a song called Hard Traveling, blowing the harmonica and playing the guitar and singing the song, and with a little finger picking song on the other side, a little folk song again. Really boring stuff, quite honestly. And I think my mum bought a copy, and maybe my sister, and maybe 3 other people, you know. But no, in other words, it wasn't a hit, of course.
Right.
And unfortunately, my release date coincided with the very first record by Donovan. He was he became a very famous singer, Donovan, and songs like Sunshine Superman and all that. So anyway, he became a star, and I didn't. But me and Ray got lots of gigs around the south of England, playing in those folk clubs.
Right.
And then we had a once-a-week residency on a Sunday in a famous jazz club in central London, where the Rolling Stones, before they were famous, played every week too. So we'd play in the afternoon, and they'd come in on the evening and do the rock and roll gig. We did the folk gig in the afternoon. So we shared that club called Studio 51 with the Stones. But as I said, this is when they were nobody, but had a following. And so we had that, but then when the folk boom died, Ray joined a very successful R&B band called the Downliners Sect. He became their harmonica player, and I went solo. And it just fizzled out, you know. So by that time, I was well into my acting and movie making and what have you. So that kind of fell by the wayside, the music. Then I got married in '74, came to live out here.
Right. So let me just stop you right.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're an Englishman.
Yeah.
You live in the UK. Most of your
until I was 29. Yeah.
Right. The early adult life.
Yeah.
So this is the question I will ask. So what brought you to Trinidad? Or how are we so fortunate to have you here?
A woman. I should have mentioned, well, I didn't need to mention, but I will now, that when I was about 18, 19, we got friendly with a bunch of girls who all shared a little basement apartment in a working class area,
right,
but a very cosmopolitan area called Earl's Court. Little basement. And one of the girls was a young Trinidadian girl called Mei Ling. You may have heard of her.
Yes.
She's a very famous fashion designer.
Right. Yes.
Another one was Rosemary Hezekiah, who was my sister-in-law eventually.
Right.
And her sister, Alison Hezekiah.
Right.
And we met them. I met Alison at a party. I went there with the usual guitar, you know, and she, I think, got a little bit infatuated, and I thought she was great too.
Right.
And I actually became very uncharacteristic and paid for a taxi to get her home after the party, you know.
Right.
And from there, a relationship blossomed for a little while.
Right.
And then I moved on, and she moved on, and eventually she came back to Trinidad because she was studying over there to be a chef. Came back, and but the invitation had always been to me and all my buddies, who she loved greatly. Come and see us anytime you're ready, you know. Yeah, we'll come. It was all talk because we had no money really. But then by about '72, when I started to do okay in the movies and TV, unlike my other friends, I tend to follow through with things, you know. Right. And I re-established contact. I wrote to her, and she said, "Yeah, the invitation's still open. Come down." So in '72, I got a little cheap charter flight, and I came down. She met me at the airport, and we stayed just up the same road we're on now, in her parents' home. I had a holiday there, and everything rekindled. We were more adult then, you know. And then I came back in 73, and after 72, she decided to go back to London, and she flew up there, and she lived in an apartment and worked in a restaurant, and then we decided to get married while we were in London. But we said we'll get married and live here because the economy in England was going down the tubes at that time. It was the first oil crisis, long lines at the gas stations and what have you. So I said, okay. So the big plan was set for January 13th, 1974. So she came back, put things in place. Then I flew down with my dad and my sister about a week before the wedding, got married, and we got a little apartment. And that was it.
The rest is history.
Yeah, well, but in getting back to the music though, that gigs and stuff like that stopped for about 15 years or more, you know. I still had the guitar, still plonked away at home and what have you. And then about 20 years ago, or maybe less, I was introduced to a guy called Gerald Kenny, who was a keyboard man.
Right.
And he had the same kind of age as me. He had the same kind of love of classic old-time music as I did. And I went to line by his place in West Moorings. And he said, well, do you know this one? I said, of course I do. And I got my guitar out and blah, blah, blah. And we had so many songs in common, we formed an act. And before you knew it, we were getting a lot of work, you know. And then we had a residency at the Cascade Club in the Normandy Hotel on a Saturday night, more for the elderly and middle-aged people, dancing and all the old Save the Last Dance for Me type songs and that. So we had a lovely thing going there for the longest while. And then...
That was what time frame are we talking?
That would have been from about 92 to when he died in 2011.
Okay.
Sadly, he got sick at the exact same time as my wife Alison, and here's the ironic and tragic thing: his funeral was the same morning as Alison's funeral.
My God.
So he was my best friend, and I couldn't go to his funeral, you know.
That's sad.
But what they did, I heard afterwards, because Joey Ningwai went to his funeral before he came to mine. He said, Emmett, I made an album with him on keyboards, and I have a lovely version of Have I Told You Lately That I Love You with him on keyboards and that. And he said when people walking in the church and pushing in the coffin, they played that on the public address, you know. So my presence was there to a certain extent, you know. So anyway, by that time, I'd built up a pretty good repertoire again, thanks to him, because he taught me chords and how to do certain songs. And I just carried on. I got restaurant gigs. I opened for Kenny Rogers, opened for Engelbert Humperdinck, opened for Michael Bolt, you know, all the big names. I got opening act status, you know, Kenny Rogers. And I haven't looked back since, really. That's been a parallel to my regular job on the radio, you know, yeah. So that's basically from then to now, yeah.
So it's there's a historical passion there. You can
yeah,
definitely see it.
Yeah, I've never lost that. You know, I sit there watching TV, and I get the old guitar, and once there's nobody there to bother, you know, and I will. Once the commercials come on, you know, I have to do something. I can't keep my fingers quiet, you know. Yeah, I've never lost that. But you and I were talking before we went on the air here, and I said to you that I've got one or two friends that were my contemporaries back in that time, like Ray, the harmonica guy.
Right.
Hasn't blown a harmonica for like 30 years. Another guy I used to work with, he stopped playing about 8 years ago, and he had a more professional career than I did. Some people do get jaded, and they've had enough apparently, and they just lay it down and forget it. And I said to my friend David, how could you do that? Don't you love it? I had it so much, I mean, I've had enough. But that hasn't happened to me yet, and I hope for goodness sake it never will, you know.
I think from my own experience, it's a musical journey, and if you're not ready to get off that train, or take that stop, you just continue going on and on and on.
Of course, you know, things may fail, like Sinatra and that. A voice apparently doesn't last forever, but I've been told many a time, when they hear me, they say, your voice is good as ever, man, good as ever, you know. And I'm not boasting myself, but I think I'm singing better now than I ever did, you know.
Yes.
As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm starting to get a lot of pain in my joints and my hand now, and that can be a bit painful after each song. I have to rub stuff on it, you know, and all that. But it hasn't really hampered me too much yet. But so as long as physically I can do it, I'll keep doing it.
Right. So most musicians usually have favorite, especially a guitarist would have a favorite go-to guitar.
Yeah, well, that's changed with me over the years. But as I said to you before, when I'm plonking here at home and I want to keep it pretty quiet and I want to have no great pressure on my hands,
Right.
I find that nylon strings is the way to go, you know.
Right.
And I've resurrected a guitar that started everything off for me,
Okay.
which is this one right here.
Yeah. Let's see it.
This is a guitar that my mum bought for me. We were poor in London, but you could have what they call package holidays in Europe, you know, for a very low price.
Right.
So Mum said, I'm going to take you to Spain, she said, for 2 weeks. So we went to a little cheap hotel on a package tour on the Costa Brava in Spain, just me and my mum. And it wasn't in a music shop, it was just a tourist street with all the ponchos and the sombreros,
Right.
and all the maracas and what have you, and things, and a few guitars hanging up. Real cheapos, you'd imagine. I mean, they had to be cheap because she had no money really.
Right.
And she bought me another guitar. You know the real flamenco guitars that don't have they have just a wooden peg that goes in,
Right. Right.
which is a real flamenco guitar, no cogs.
No.
And we bought that. But then I realized that it doesn't really stay in tune while I was in the hotel, you know. So we took it back. And she paid a little bit extra to get one with metal cogs on it, you know.
Right.
And that was, would you believe, that was about 1958. So that would make this guitar, what, about 56 years old or something like that, you know. And still works. It's a bit out of tune, but that's my little go-to guitar. So, and I took it by an expert repairer guy over here, Jonathan Crow, and he said, that's a lovely little guitar. He said, I love the sound of it. He said, like the old-time blues guitars,
Yes,
he said.
yes.
And it's got all the wooden struts inside to give the reverberation.
Well,
and that.
I think from you know the patina that it has on it, it tells a story.
Yeah.
You know.
I even in my crazy days, I put a hole here because there was a fashion to have a 7-string guitar with an extra string, a drone string, you know,
Right.
to make it sound like a bit like a 12-string guitar.
Right.
So, and we had no drill.
Right.
So in England we have fires to keep warm.
Right.
I got a red hot poker on the fire,
Oh, my.
and I kept poking it until I made a hole here, and I put one of these things, a cog here,
Right.
and I put an extra string here so that the E string was double, you know.
Right.
And steel strings, would you believe? This guitar is not made for steel strings.
Right.
I'm lucky I didn't rip off the bridge,
Yes,
you know.
that tends to happen if you
Yeah,
put steel strings.
but I got away with it, and it's my little baby, and I always thank Mum. That's what started me off, you know, and I still have it from 1958 to now, and I love it.
Thank God for
60
mothers.
years old, nearly, that guitar, yeah. And then there's another one I bought about 12 years ago, which is even older.
Right.
This is a really old Gibson, a real true Gibson. A little old blues guitar, you know. And I was just going through the wanted list, this for sale list in the Guardian newspaper,
Right.
and I saw this little piece for sale, Gibson guitar, no price, you know. And I phoned up the number, and it turned out to be a middle-aged couple that were living in some apartment blocks just down by West Mall there, you know.
Right.
And they said, "Oh, I know you." They said, "You and your partner Gerald came and sung for one of our functions about 15 years ago." I said, "That's you?" Because when they let us go to change clothes in their bedroom for that gig about 20 years ago, and I said, "Gerald, look at that guitar." It was this guitar laying on the bed in that room.
Right.
But I wasn't really a collector then, so I didn't really take it. But the same couple who can't remember where they got it from, they just know they had this old guitar, and they had no knowledge of the value or the specialness of it, you know. So they said, well, it was in a terrible condition. All the strings were off and everything like that. I said, well, yeah, I'd love it. So they said, well, how much will you give me for it? So I said, well, I think I offered them 800 TT. They said, okay. So I think I've looked it up on eBay and all that. People are selling these for between 1,500 and 2,000 US in America. But mine would be worth a little bit less because there's a very common fault with these guitars where the head snaps
Right.
because of the pressure. So there's been a repair here. a bit well repaired, and it never gave me a minute's problem. But the head had cracked right off, and they fixed it back. But it's as good as it's got a lovely low action, and I researched it. There's no serial number, unfortunately, but I went on a website that was very detailed, and because of these type of things here, the machine has and a few other little things.
The tuners,
the
right.
tuners, yeah.
Exclusions.
They were able to date it between 1948 and 51,
Right.
as narrow as that. So it's either late 40s, very early 50s, and it's a lovely guitar, and that's my second go-to guitar. And it's a Gibson, and the make, for anyone interested, is an LG2.
Okay.
They have the LG1 and the LG2. LG standing for Ladies Guitar.
Okay.
Ladies Guitar 1 and 2. And the difference between this is the more expensive of the two, because like this one, inside it has what they call fan strutting, which are little strips of wood
Yes.
laid here, which are braces really, but it also affects the tone.
Right.
So that's called fan strutting, because it's like a fan.
Right.
And this has that, and the LG1 doesn't. So I got the
Right.
better of the two, you know. So those are my two real classics. Other than that, I have a recently bought Les Paul, Gibson Les Paul, and I have a Gibson ES335, even more recently bought.
Right.
And I have a big Carvin acoustic electric as well, and one other Spanish
So
guitar.
there's a lot of opportunity for inspiration there.
Well, most of it is just memories. You know? No, well, I mean, I play this, I play that, I play the two Gibsons. I stopped playing the Carvin now, and I also, when I used to sing with Ray in England, the guitar we used to use then, which was a Swedish-made guitar, big jumbo called a Levin, I still have that down in the storeroom. It's all mashed up and kind of, it would need an expert to refurbish it. But all the pictures of me and Ray back in the 60s in that club I told you about are all with that particular guitar. So I still have it, even though it's in a bad state, you know. Yeah. So I've got quite a few guitars, and it traces my history for me.
That's
Really.
what I'm saying. So you tend to remember every time you take a look at it. You remember where you.
Oh
have
yeah,
been, right?
they've been around. That one, they've been through the mill, you know, through the wars. I mean, the one I talked about downstairs, we used to get a train to go to the south of France, to Cannes and Nice, and we would sing and play around the cafes with all the rich people.
Right.
And then we'd go down to the beach and hide from the French police, because you weren't allowed to sleep on the beach. But they would keep running you off, but we would try and sleep. We had to spend the night on the beach. Then we get up in the morning, go to the market, buy a loaf of bread, some cheese, have breakfast, just knock about all day on the beach, and then go singing again in the evening. So what I'm saying is the guitar has some rough days, you know, which I think is why it's the way it is now, and the way I am now too, at my age.
I moving away from you know from the guitars and stuff. Since you're living in Trinidad so many years, you know what's your favorite cuisine like, and what you hold close to as the Trinidad cuisine?
Well, okay, I'm not an expert on food, and I'm a very simple eater. And well, as I mentioned before, my wife Alison was a cordon bleu cook, you know. So
Right. So you had a lot of
it's
good
a lot
food.
of, I had a wide range to choose from, but she knew what I liked, and it was really the simpler the better. So one of the things I liked her to do for me was lasagna, which is a kind of a pie kind of a thing, with a crust on top, minced meat. I like lasagna. In the last 10 or 15 years or so, I've got very big, on pasta. I love pasta.
Right.
Anything that's not complicated to eat,
Right.
like a lasagna, you just take a chunk and you eat it.
Right.
Lasagna, a pile of spaghetti or whatever, and
Right.
you're gone. But all this, a bit of this and a bit of that. And then restaurants where they give you your meat here, and then a bowl with this and a bowl with that and a bowl with that, and you've got to put it on. Forget it. I don't want that at all. Give me a plate of food and I'll eat it, you know. So I like lasagna. I like quiche. I like pasta, as I said. And as a matter of fact, a good friend of mine who's a chef, lived in Italy for many years. He is once a month or so. He rents my ex-wife's restaurant, and he does a pasta night. So me and my new wife, Petrina, we booked to go there next Saturday, the 17th. Well, this will be shown later after that, but still, we're gonna try. He doesn't buy pasta in the supermarket, you know, in the box. He actually makes the pasta himself, apparently.
Right.
So that'll be interesting to tell if there's any difference or not, because he seems to be very proud of that, you know. So we're going to check out the real homemade pasta. Spaghetti bolognese, which is the pasta, I guess, you know. Anything simple. Tuna casserole.
So like, let's say street food like in Trinidad, doubles.
I've only recently got into doubles in the last few years. I've got a very close co-worker now, friend co-worker. You may have seen him reading news on IETV, Shamji Ali.
Right.
Handsome young man. He's an announcer on one of our sister stations. But we, like this morning, which is a Saturday,
Right.
we both do the morning shift on our respective stations, you know?
Right.
And we both start at 6. So we both roll in at 6. But before he comes, he stops off in Woodbrook and he buys a bunch of doubles for him and for me. Very kind of him. Been doing it for about 3 years now. But he brings it there and I appreciate it and I love it. It's a great breakfast, you know? So, and it's just that one time a week. And there's always too much. So I bring a couple home and my daughter will have the other 2, you know, for her breakfast when she gets up. So that's that. So doubles, yeah. And roti I've been eating since I came here. So that I'm no stranger to that. And I love that. There's a shop down the corner,
Right.
down by here, called The Best Roti. And for the 6 years I lived as a bachelor after my wife died, when I just used to, I can't cook, you know. That was one of my favorite stops. I'd get this big roti for about $35 and eat that, you know. But now I had to stop that.
So right. So this is the thing. You're newlywed.
Yeah,
Again,
3 months as we speak now, yeah.
Again, so congratulations.
Thank you, yeah.
What is in the future for Emmett Hennessy?
At my age, about another year or 2. No, I'm just kidding. In the future for me, well, let's see now. As I mentioned earlier, a new beginning already. 3 months married as we speak now.
Right.
And that's exciting. And I'm working on making that a happy progression. I have a daughter here living with me. I have my granddaughter. These are the pleasures of my. In fact, my granddaughter's right here. Come, Sierra. Come over here. Yeah. This is Sierra. She's 8 years old as we speak.
Hello.
And
Hi.
and this is one of the joys of my life. You know.
Right.
I still love the music, but as I said, things have quietened down a bit performance-wise. But I still keep learning and practicing. Of course, my radio, which I've been doing since 1977 now, I'm now in year number 40 of that, you know, and that shows mercifully no signs of me being worn out.
Right.
My greatest aim there is to stay relevant and to stay to some degree popular, and so far it's working. I would hate to have to sort of have people say, "Oh, him again," kind of thing, you know. So I work hard. I don't take anything on my radio work for granted. Every single day, I really try and give 100% to make it a good program, and also to make me a desirable project, so that I
Right.
still have a job, kind of thing.
Right.
You know, I don't take it for granted. In other words.
Right.
So
So-
music, family, radio, comfortable home, food to eat. What more could I ask for? I'm not a greedy person, you know.
You've been blessed.
I've been blessed for sure. You know, I've had my hardships. As you know, I nearly lost my life in 1990. I don't know if you were around at that time.
Yes, I saw some footage on that where you were interviewed. You gave your what do you put it here?
The story and what happened to me. Yeah.
Yes, your account of it.
My account, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. When I got shot through the arm, yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was, I feel I'm on a second life now too.
Right.
So that never leaves my consciousness. I'm always aware that unlike many other people from that day,
Right.
I've had a life, you know. Yeah.
So live every day.
Yeah, I live every day at a time. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been great, and I love your home. It's very inviting, very
Thank you,
warm,
yeah.
very cozy.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. Me and Alison worked hard to get it, you know, and I am sad every day that she didn't live to get the benefit of it. I mean, shortly after we paid it off is when I lost her, you know.
Right.
So I just think she was cheated in that respect, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess I've been fortunate. I mean, to be an early. He's born in the 70s, so I've had a lot of that interaction with seeing her on television.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I mean, listen to your 9-5. I mean, this
Right.
was my thing for many years as a teenager.
Yeah.
And,
We were a showbiz couple, as they would say in America.
Yes. That it was that iconic, personality.
Oh, yeah,
Of the, she was so outgoing and so friendly and
Yeah.
heartwarming. She had that kind of how to describe it. You felt comfortable, even though you were separated between a screen.
Yeah.
You could have felt that you could.
There was a connection
Yes.
between you and her watching her, yeah,
Yes,
for sure.
yes.
And even now, she's still dearly loved by the older people who remember her,
Right.
Yeah, they would never give her up. Yeah, greatly missed, yeah, my darling.
Thank you so much, Emmett.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. We'll shake hands, yeah? All right, there you are. Proud of Daddy, Grandpa?
You get the thumbs up. So we have the thumbs up. All right.
2 thumbs up.
Island Adventures.